yo, you bums gaming folks. This your boy Q.
And I'm your boy Joker, and this is Wildin with the
Wildin with the
Wildboyz.
Wildboyz. And yeah, man, this is the first show. We're gonna just start off, wild out. We're gonna the first thing to wild out on March Madness. The brackets is
The busted
pretty
brackets.
much, yeah, they're pretty busted.
A lot of busted brackets early.
Let's start off in the East, in this East region, the Boston region. What do you think, Joker? Do you see anything?
I mean, if I were just to right off the bat, I think Villanova's got the easiest road to the Final Four. I mean, their next game versus who is it? Who they got next? I believe
they got the winner of West Virginia and Marshall.
So let's say West Virginia wins that game. I mean, who knows though? There's a lot of upsets.
Right.
I still don't see either of those teams really catching Villanova sleeping like all these other top-seeded teams.
Right.
Right.
I honestly feel like that East bracket, that is the one that's gone pretty much like it should be going. Like Villanova is, like you said, they're hands down the best team in that region. I don't even see anything changing. Maybe Texas Tech. I did watch a little bit of that game. They got a couple of players, but yeah, Villanova definitely coming out of that East.
And I don't see much coming from Purdue either. I mean, I know the 2 seed there. But I mean, they struggled with Butler. I didn't think Butler was all that great.
Right.
But I mean, Villanova. I mean, they're sound. I like their coach. The coach seems like he has his team focused. Like, hey. And he's been here now. Like,
right.
He's been here, gone far in the tournament the last few years. Won it 2 years ago. Granted on a buzzer beater versus my UNC team, but he has experience, and I think he's telling them guys, hey, listen, you see UNC got upsetted. You see Virginia, they got upset. You see all these top seeds getting upset.
So you can't sleep on no team, no night.
No sleeping.
Right.
So I think out of all the brackets right now, I would say that the East right now is Villanova's to lose. Like they would have to get caught sleeping, which is possible. I mean, anything's possible, but I just don't think it's gonna happen in that bracket.
Okay. All right. Let's go to another one that's I feel like it's kind of doing the same. That's that Midwest bracket, the Omaha bracket with the top seed Kansas. I feel as though, besides my Dukies, who I got coming out of that region, go Blue Devils. I feel like the same. Like the numbers, the seeds are what they are. I mean, Syracuse.
That Syracuse team, man. I mean, I saw them play. I saw a good majority of that game, and I mean,
Michigan State tonight. They
probably
locked in against them.
You probably speak more on this than I can, since you're the basketball expert. But that zone, man. Like, what is it with the zone that's getting at you? I don't know.
Oh man, Coach Boeheim have those kids out there lanky, and they're active. They're active and they're lanky in that zone, and it creates problems.
The announcers, I don't know who was doing the games today, but they were saying, and then they showed the graphic of the one guy, 7'7". 7'7". You know how tall 7'7" is, man?
Nah, I don't even know what 7'7" look like.
That means that you're pretty much crouching under every doorway, right? Or
you have to.
Geez.
Everything crouch.
So that's pretty much. I mean, they ain't say the word lanky, but they pretty much said that Boeheim's guys are really tall.
He gets these guys, and they're lanky and they're active,
and they're wingspans.
They're wiry guys, wingspans. So, and that's what you're doing in that zone. He's packing it, and he's forcing you to beat him. That zone is crazy.
And today, what I noticed, Michigan, they were doing a good job of their center. He was coming to the top of the paint to get the ball in the middle of the zone, and Syracuse was kind of like, hey, shoot that rock. and he shot it like once or twice and missed it. And the third time he got the ball, like he passed it because he didn't want to take that open shot anymore. He didn't want to drive it because he missed it so much.
Right.
So it's
that Boeheim zone is crazy up there. But it's so funny. He playing against Coach K next round, and Coach K this year has played more zone than he's played in his last 10 seasons. Duke was known for their man defense,
right,
which is one of the reasons why I liked Duke, because I wanted to play man defense. I wanted to be 90 feet guard up. But this year, he actually instituted a 2-3 zone that he's been running now all season. And I wonder if he's going to come out. I mean, he got it from Boeheim. It is Boeheim's 2-3 zone. It is 100% his 2-3 zone. So I wonder how it's going to look and how Boeheim is going to coach against someone's imitation, like their counter to you. That's gonna be a good one. That's gonna definitely be a good one.
I'd like to see, as a UNC fan, I would not mind seeing Duke get beat. Because I don't like Duke. So there's that.
Well, speaking of UNC and letdown, let's move to the West and the Los Angeles region.
Wait. Before, man, forget you. Before we move on to that region, I just want to give a shout out to my Seton Hall Pirates. They were there. They beat NC State.
Oh, yeah.
They beat
NC
State.
Word. Jersey.
Jersey in the house.
Jersey in the house.
I mean,
I was rooting for him. I wanted them to do
Listen,
hey.
they beat NC State by 11, and then they were in the game, man. They were in the game. I'm not going to lie, man. And then being a Seton Hall fan, I feel like Kansas did get a couple of, superstar calls.
Kansas calls, where Kansas...
because they Kansas and we Seton Hall, but they were getting a little, I was like, come on, that's not a foul.
Yeah.
That moving pick, that one moving pick that they call, I think, on Delgado, right at the end, man.
Yeah.
That was bogus.
Delgado nice, too. I like that guy nice.
That was bogus, man.
Guy nice.
But shout out to Seton Hall Pirates, man. They did their thing. Represented. So, go Jersey, go Pirates. It's good to see. It kind of stunk because when I was at school there, they weren't all that great. I think they made the tournament one year when we were at school.
Mm-hmm.
But these last 2 or 3 years, I mean, they won the Big East tournament. They've been in the dance the last 2 years. So good job for the Pirates representing, getting the program back on track. Yeah, back on track.
All right, so back to this West. Los Angeles round. And UNC, number 2, UNC, which is probably going to be the biggest upset, right? You would say that's the biggest upset thus far in that bracket, in that side.
In that bracket,
that side, right?
I mean,
in the
Michigan
West,
won. Yeah. I mean, that's the only upset in that bracket.
Yeah.
I mean, because Florida was a 9 seed, Missouri was an 8 seed, so that's not really an upset per se.
Mm-hmm.
As far as
but we had it almost Cinderella one with that Houston team. That Houston team looked so dangerous. In every one of their games, they looked dangerous. Oh my God, did they look dangerous?
So how about that, right? So yesterday in the Michigan game, in the Houston-Michigan game, they didn't foul the guy, right? Where Coach Boeheim, which is the first time I think I've ever seen a coach up 3
foul
right away, so that they're only shooting 2 free throws. I think it's the first time, either in NBA or in college, that I've seen a coach say, "I don't care if it's boring, I don't care if it's not exciting, I'm gonna do the right thing and foul this guy so magic doesn't happen."
Oh man, it's so funny you say that. Rest in peace, my black star. She would always say to me, foul. If you up by 3, don't you let them shoot no 3 and tie that game. Because if the game would go into overtime, you're going to lose. She said you make it a free throw shooting contest. And that's why you practice free throws.
Yeah, and I mean...
You have to foul.
Yeah, free throws win games, right?
Yes. Yes,
I mean,
they do.
Yeah, and the guy yesterday, the Houston guy, he missed a few free throws, right?
Down the stretch.
Yeah,
you miss them, man.
And
they always come back. They always come back.
Yeah, that game was crazy. It was a good game. That was a good game.
Definitely a good game.
But UNC, man, they got caught, man. I mean, Texas,
honestly, talking to UNC, like Aldrich, this wasn't one of their best years.
Nah, their team was
talent-wise, this was not one of their best years. I think next year's team with the new talent coming in will be a lot better than this year's team.
I like my boy Joel Berry, man. I like him.
Right, he's a senior, right?
Yeah,
I think it's time for a new wave of guard. Like, and this is just me being like a college fan, like watching a game. Like, it gets tough seeing those guys there 4 years on the big stage. Yeah. I really feel like it does.
Do you see someone like Barry going to the league or maybe overseas? Probably.
Definitely overseas if he wants to. Definitely overseas. Maybe the D League. I could see him going to the D League. If not, I think they call him the G League now.
Yeah, they call it the G League.
Yeah.
But I like him, man. I think he's a good leader on that team.
Right. He can definitely,
But yeah, man. I mean, they got caught by a team who didn't want to miss. They shot mad 3-pointers, made a lot of them. Right. And UNC just couldn't recover. It's that simple. They couldn't recover.
Yeah.
Couldn't recover from it.
All right, so now it's time to talk about this South bracket, which I mean,
the story of the South bracket.
What the hell? What the hell happened down in that South division?
All right, well, let's start with the obvious story, right? The obvious story, UMBC made history, right?
Oh, my God.
A little tidbit that I learned the other day while listening to the radio when they were covering, the day after that UMBC won, was that it's not like the first time that a top seed has lost to the lowest seed. Because it wasn't until like 1980 something where they expanded the tournament to 64 teams that they had a number 16 seed. So before that, they had let's say a number 8 seed, and an 8 seed has beaten a 1 seed.
A 1 seed, yeah. Right.
So this is only the first time in history that a number 16.
16. Right.
So not like the low. Right. So regardless, it's definitely historic. Like what they did, the Morrow, right, the guard, he did his thing, representing my peoples.
This is what I did. So if that's what you did after they won, this is what I did after they won. UMBC, University of Maryland, Baltimore County. I didn't even know where that is. I thought it was by Baltimore, right? Didn't know. So I looked it up. It's Catonsville, Maryland. Catonsville, I don't even know where that is. Their overall record this year was 25-10.
And they got blown out by Albany by 40 points.
Right. They were the second best team in their conference. Don't get me wrong. And I bet you the head coach, Ryan Odom, that guy, I bet you he coached his kids up as best you could.
I mean,
but I don't know how that happened. I bet you even the coach for Virginia was just
there were times that they showed him, and
what do you do with that?
He had this look on his face what was that?
Right.
But not for nothing. Yeah, not for nothing. We talked about this yesterday on the phone was that Lyles, he was whatever. I'll just throw this up, see what happens. I'll just throw this up, see what happens, and
right.
everything he threw,
and there was no defense for that.
There was a span of at least 5 minutes game time of 5 minutes where he literally was throwing up crazy nonsense, and it was dropping. And you're right. There's no defense for things just.
There's no
dropping.
defense for that. When he feel like, well, I'm gonna make whatever shot that leaves my hand. What is that? Then you pass to the next level. You got the glow now. You got the glow now.
You got the juice now.
You got the juice now. And speaking of UMBC, right now, they're only down like a couple of points against Kansas State.
Live update.
Oh my God, they're only down in the second half. Just started the second half.
All right. Well, moving on from UMBC, maybe they pull off this upset against Kansas State. Who do you got as now the favorites?
No, we can't even do the favorites because we got to talk about former President Barack Obama picking Loyola Chicago, Illinois to upset Miami in the first round. That's what I'm saying. This bracket, where are these teams coming from?
Hey, man, listen. You know what? That's what happens when you sleep on teams. I mean, that's it, right? There's no other explanation for. Cause let's be honest, right? Let's be honest. If we break it down, right? Everyone in this tournament is a Division I basketball player, right?
Right.
Now, granted, right? Everyone, like, you have your Dukes and your UNCs who get the cream of the crop, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not to say that there's not those same type of players in a smaller, unknown school that just, I don't know, maybe they didn't get seen by.
Right. Most of the time, it's either like when stuff like that, it's either like your grades.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't really get into those schools or, money.
Well, listen. I don't know if you can hear my partner in crime over here, KY, talking. and she's chiming in over here about how Steph Curry and Davidson, he's really good, and he went to like Davidson at that time.
Right. He lit up the tournament. Lit it up.
Right. So you got guys like Kawhi Leonard. He went to San Diego State.
So I mean, there's players on these teams, and
yeah, but the difference there is I at least know where San Diego State is. Davidson, I had no freaking clue where that was.
Right.
Well, listen, now that KY's here, and you got her fired up about college basketball.
Oh, we're gonna talk about how how they always say. Yeah, we like the upsets in the first round, but at the end we want to see the blue blood. And they talk about the Kentucky.
Listen, those boys from Kentucky right now are so lucky that these teams have been dropping out of their region. But
oh man, it is crazy though. But you know what?
I've been looking up their overall season stats because they had some iffy parts of the season. Like that end of January, beginning of February looked real bad for them when they were dropping in the rankings. Mm-hmm. But they pulled it together at the end of the season, and they were looking real good. So I even pulled up like their season stats just to confirm, were they really that good as I always think they are in my mind?
Okay. And what
this is crazy though. Their field goal percentage for the season, 47%. That's pretty good.
Well, did you see the threes do they shoot threes like that this year?
The threes? Hold on. Let's back up for a second though. That's field goal.
Field goal percentage.
The threes were 36%, which is still pretty good for an average for an entire season.
Right.
Free throws, because we know free throws win games. I'm a little disappointed. They were only at 70%. They should be like 85% for free throws.
As a team, yeah.
But
you want that.
still, when you look at everything else, though, they're like margin for rebounds. They're getting at least 5 extra rebounds a game.
Because those boys are active in Kentucky.
Oh.
Those boys are active. They're very active.
They're all 18 years old.
They are very active,
scrap
man.
that way.
That guy Diallo got crazy
bounce.
Crazy
He got
crazy
Yeah, he
bounce.
does.
But I think
Yeah,
there's one key thing you need to think about for Kentucky. Because obviously they have one of the stronger schedules because they're playing all these top teams.
Mm-hmm.
And their average points per game is still 7 or higher per team they play. So I think, and with the way they've been turning it up towards the end of the season and coming into this tournament, like last night, they went by 20?
Right.
Yeah, they won by 20, 95-75.
So,
And that's what I'm saying. This is shaping up like who if they play UMBC or Kansas State, are you scared of either one of those teams as a Kentucky fan?
Hell no.
Exactly. Right. Okay.
And you know, Coach Cal is gonna be getting ready.
Right.
He's not
That's what I'm saying.
because Coach Cal,
be like, you beating better teams, and y'all are gonna play the rest of this way.
It won't be until maybe they play. Oh wait, Nevada just beat Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
So
neither one of them teams are Kentucky good.
And then now,
that's what I'm saying.
So now it's Loyola, Chicago, Nevada.
Kentucky should be scared of until they get to the Final Four.
I will say this, and I don't know if it's just being a huge fan of Kentucky, but I sit and I watch some of these other coaches at these top tier teams, and none of them get their players fired up like Coach Cal. He is in their face.
But that could also be his style of coaching.
It is his style of coaching. But I watch the Duke games, and I feel like, man, Coach K doesn't do anything. He sits calmly on the sidelines, and I feel like as a player, if I'm getting my butt whooped by another team or something like that, I need a little fire put in me. Coach Cal does that.
Coach K only yells when things don't go to plan.
He yells at the refs a lot. I see him yell more at the refs.
But Coach Cal, you know what? Coach Cal, what he does, man, I like the mental aspect that he has as a coach. Because I feel like he's the kind of coach where he has your back. He's going to fight for you. And he went into the tournament, into the region, into the Atlanta region, talking about we're in hostile territory here in Atlanta. And playing those games were almost trying to get his team hey, you're the underdog, you're the underdog, you're the underdog.
Right.
And so but everyone on the outside is you're Kentucky, you're not really the underdog.
But they always are though, because they rotate out players so much. They always have to be seen as an underdog because no one takes them seriously sometimes because of that.
Exactly.
But I think it's funny. Because obviously when I talk to a lot of my friends from home, we always talk about basketball in Kentucky, and I actually met up with a friend last night in the city, and she actually went to one of his book signing talks, and that was one of the big conversations is he gets criticized so much for the one and done idea. And while I kind of already knew the answer to it, she kind of enlightened me even more about the idea because, it's one of those, and my dad and I have even talked about this, that you're talking about kids who are at the top of their game and they're elite players who have such a huge opportunity to go and sign these huge contracts. Look at Karl Anthony Towns, right? Big guy.
Yeah.
But then you look back at players from Duke or UNC who end up staying to their senior year, and let's be honest, they don't end up being as big of players as some of these one and done kids because they immediately come into the league with a following and are young and just willing to do anything to make it happen. But then you also have to think of the aspect you're asking a kid to stay 3 extra years to play for you for free when they're being offered multi-million dollars. And this was the point that Coach Cal made at his signing conversation with the audience was, it's not so much of they're giving up $1 million to stay with me. It's, as a coach, when I'm recruiting, I go into their homes to meet them. And most of these kids, dad is not there, mom is not there. It's always grandma that's taking care of these kids because mom and dad have moved out, done whatever, not in the picture. And he's like, so by me holding them back, they're not impacting their own future. They're impacting the people that have been busting their tails to take care of them for so long, especially when it probably wasn't easy getting them into like an AAU program or getting them into these private schools to, hone in on their craft. And so people want to criticize him, but really in the end, he's looking out more for these players than any of the other coaches are because he's seeing their future. He's not looking at their college potential.
Right, he's not using them.
Which I think while UNC and Duke and, other programs have these amazing programs and a lot, like a very rich history, it's just one of those things, there's a bigger picture here, and it's not just about a reputation for your school. It has to be what is that end goal for them, and that end goal is to make them successful. And so as a coach, he can't necessarily be loyal to the college because he has to be loyal to the people that he's entrusted and said, I'm going to take your kid and I'm going to make them amazing.
Right.
So needless to say,
he's a good guy, man. He's a good guy.
So needless to say,
he's definitely a good guy. I like Kyrie.
Here's the question, right? You're a Duke fan, right?
Yes.
Do you put Duke into to win the tournament every year?
No.
No, you not. Hey, KY, do you put Kentucky to win the tournament or Louisville to win the tournament every year?
I put Kentucky or Louisville, no matter their seed, no matter how challenging their region is.
And no matter if they're in the NIT, she'll still have them win the March Madness tournament.
Right there.
Here's the deal. In my mind, and the way that I was raised, the state of Kentucky perfected the sport of basketball. So, when we have such prideful, love for this sport, and the coaches who come to represent, because even look at Western Kentucky, they've done some things in the tournament before.
Right.
These coaches These coaches come knowing they have to prove to the state that they know enough about basketball to represent these teams because that is our number one passion. And that's why, for example, Tubby Smith, that's why he didn't pan out at Kentucky because he didn't have that mentality that fit with our state.
Tubby Smith.
Because the only time he was successful is when he had Rick Pitino's recruiting class. Let's be honest about that.
Pitino.
Rick Pitino's another story these days. But.
All right, so
I have Kentucky going all the way.
Well, back to that bracket. Talk about letdown.
In that
bracket. Remember when Buffalo beat Arizona by 30 on the first night?
It was a solid 21. No, but Arizona looks foolish, man. Arizona looks foolish.
Remember that?
Arizona looked foolish, and they got torn to pieces in the media the next day, man. Really bad.
Yeah, they did.
The coach got torn up, the program got torn up, and even the players, because I think there were 4 seniors on the team, and 2 of them, as soon as the game was over, were like, we're going to the NBA draft next year, so whatever. Kind of we didn't really care.
Right.
We didn't really care about winning or losing because we knew we were going to the NBA next year.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Would you say they're the biggest disappointment of the tournament, or do we give that to Virginia automatically?
Yeah, Virginia definitely got to get that.
Yeah, Cupid, as an athlete, You're the top seed. You lose to the worst seed in the tournament.
Got spanked.
Got spanked. What are you feeling? What do you do?
I don't go back to class.
Right there. Nah, you gotta do that.
Phone.
The thing is,
how do you come back from that? I mean, that's a tough pill to swallow, man.
how about this? Coming from someone that like to make a lot of excuses, they can always have the one excuse. They didn't have their best player.
But he's
The sixth man. He was the sixth man, but he was the best player. He was the only one that could create his own shot.
But that's probably the most pitiful excuse, because if he was your best player, he shouldn't have been your sixth man.
Nah, they needed something off the bench. I don't know how it worked, but that's how they did it.
I mean, to be honest,
it worked.
And I'm pretty sure there's the narrative going around is that, yeah, Virginia had stellar elite defense, but they can't score. Even with their sixth man, they just couldn't score. A lot of points.
Right.
And so once they got, like, they were saying, like, 70 points, like, they're not going to score 70 points.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Just a lot.
You know what? You want to know here it is. You know what UMBC is doing? They're making the game really ugly against Kansas State, yo. They got
Scrappy.
like 30 points.
It's scrappy.
That's it in the second half.
Well, I mean, let's talk about this Morrow guy for one more second, because I loved the commentators the other night in that Virginia game talking about the fact that since he has such a low center of gravity and he can get so low while dribbling the ball, that the Virginia players, their arms couldn't even reach down that low to even stop him.
I know.
And he's fast.
I know. Sometimes I can't even listen to the commentators. I just mute the TV and watch it.
Shout out to all the shorties out there who are making it happen. That's like a Muggsy Bogues kind of look.
Look at that. The Retrievers.
Still in it, man. Down one, right? 8 minutes left.
Oh, my God.
All right, so
is their mascot a golden retriever? Like,
yes.
That's all I think of when I hear that.
Yes. Like Molly? Was Molly and me a golden retriever? No.
Who? Did you say Maui?
No.
No, it's not.
Marley.
Wait, but isn't one Molly? Why?
No.
Maui's from Moana, man. What are you talking about?
No. Not marijuana.
All right, let's get the show back on track.
Get back to this bracket.
All right, moving forward, right? You got.
I mean, we just have to be honest.
Let's see.
In this, to finish up that, like, South bracket, I just don't see any other team that has the strength to really compete strongly with Kentucky. I mean, there could be some sleepers that could give up a good run for their money, but as far as size,
right,
and just agility,
Kentucky is the biggest team left.
I just don't see it happening in this region. Now, once we get to the Final Four, whoever's left, I mean,
that'll be different.
That'll be a different story.
They'll be playing like maybe
Michigan,
Gonzaga or something.
But here's the thing, right?
Or Michigan.
I think.
See, Michigan scares me.
I go on a list. If Kentucky at this point now moving forward, if they were to not make the Final Four, I think that would be one of the biggest disappointments at this point now.
That would be a disappointment.
Because just based on pedigree, they should make the Final Four, like, pretty. I'm not saying it's going to be a cakewalk, because these teams should still be, handling their business, but it should be pretty easy. Them and Villanova definitely should have an easy pass to the Final Four.
Yeah.
From there, I don't know, the West and the Midwest, I mean, you still got Kansas, you still got Duke. I mean, this Clemson team just destroyed Auburn, so who knows how Kansas is going to match up. Syracuse, I mean, they could cause some problems, man. So I'm excited.
This is as a Duke fan.
I think if Duke wins this next game,
this Syracuse game is is their toughest competition.
I think if Duke wins this next game, they're going to the Final Four.
They're going to the Final Four.
The
in
West
the championship game, because I don't think that. Who is that? Villanova. I don't think Villanova has the talent to beat a Duke. So
you're saying
Duke I think this Syracuse game, Duke wins this game, put them in the national championship game.
Wow, that's bold. That's bold, Cotton. That's a bold statement, Cotton.
What about you? Now, well, you can't, pick UNC, even though that's the team. But.
I can though, in my other make-believe bracket. Alright, so if I had to go, I'm definitely going KY, Kentucky. Mostly because my partner in crime here would probably be upset if I didn't, so I gotta pick Kentucky there. It's hard to say Villanova's not gonna make it out of the East. And as much as I hate to say it, I think you're right. I think if Duke wins this next game, they're in the Final Four. And then the West is probably the one that's mostly up in the air. Just because I don't know how I feel too much about this Xavier team, man. I mean, they got Enes Kanter's older brother on the team.
That's Enes Kanter's older brother, I swear.
You better not have no older brother.
We gotta find out. We gotta find out right now, live. We gotta find out. So keep going. What you were saying with Xavier.
I mean, I don't know how I feel about Xavier. I mean, they almost said that they shouldn't have been a number 1 seed. Like, they were kind of like, maybe. So, there's that. I mean, they're only up 2 right now against Florida State. So, Gonzaga's one of those teams where you're like, yeah, Final Four. And then all of a sudden, they get popped in the second round. Michigan barely got by Houston. And, I mean, Texas A&M, out of all the teams I've seen so far in that bracket, and I hate saying it because they just manhandled UNC, they looked like a pretty solid team.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what? Just because they beat UNC, I'll take Texas A&M out of the West.
Gotcha.
And then from there, I mean, if that happens, put Kentucky in the national title game.
That's funny. And his name is Kareem Kanter, and yes, he is Enes Kanter's brother.
Older brother.
Older brother.
So you got Duke coming out of the Midwest. You got Villanova coming out of the East.
You know what? I like that little guard at Texas Tech. I would like to see Texas Tech come out, right? Give me Texas Tech there.
All right, Texas Tech.
Yeah, so we got Texas Tech versus
Duke, right?
Versus Duke, yep.
Who you got out of the South?
And then Kentucky.
And then
versus. This is a toss-up.
I know that West is the most complicated. And it's
right,
funny,
I don't even know.
It's funny because a lot of the top seeds are still in it. Maybe that's why there hasn't been. I don't think there's been an upset, right? In that bracket. I think we said that earlier.
Everything. Yeah, you did. Everything is gone according to the seedings.
Yeah, more or less, right? I think. Florida State's the only. Technically, I mean, but a 9 over an 8, whatever.
Yeah, right.
And Texas A&M beat UNC 7-2. So who you got?
My national championship, man. Duke Blue Devils.
Versus who? Versus who, though? Versus Kentucky? Or Texas A&M?
Over Kentucky.
Ooh.
We're gonna make this championship bleed blue. They say they want the blue bloods. We're gonna give you 2 blues.
All right. So there you have it. You got Duke, Kentucky. I got Duke, Kentucky. KY?
To be honest, not even sure because I just feel like the vibe is already out there that these underdogs are just here to take out big teams right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, with the exception of Kentucky, I don't know.
We're going to pick Marshall at 13 seed. They play West Virginia.
I mean...
What? Marshall. We are Marshall.
I mean, if Matthew McConaughey is their coach, they will
snap.
win.
He's good for about at least 50 points. He can coach you.
Hey, just so you know, Lyles just shooting. Whatever. Don't worry about Lyles.
I mean, I gotta kind of break it down for a second, if this makes sense. This Syracuse-Duke matchup, I don't like either team, but I will say this. If Syracuse plays as scrappy as their fans are, the whole Midwest bracket will burn down unless Syracuse wins.
Right.
But, I mean, that Michigan State team was pretty tough, and they were able to edge them out. So, I'm daring to say Syracuse might take your beloved Blue Devils out.
I mean, that's going to be our hardest test. I agree. We got to get past Jim Boeheim and those Qs and that Q zone. That's what we have to get by.
Yeah. But
we definitely...
I don't know beyond that, though, because Kansas, I mean, granted, Seton Hall almost took them out, but I think Kansas might edge them. I mean, Kansas just, I think, has good, solid experience in the tournament. Yes, they've had some tough losses in the past, but I think they're one of those teams, like, you can always, they're very reliable in the sense that they can get at least a certain ways into the tournament before it gets tough for them.
Right. And what do you think about Purdue? Right.
No one's talking
that's
about
what No. I was trying to prove a point. And that's what's hard on us on this side. We don't ever get to hear about Purdue and how good they are. They're number 2 seed. We should have heard something about them, right? Like, we don't hear about Purdue. I can't name one player, the head coach, the color of the school, the mascot.
It's black and gold, man. Black and gold. The Boilermakers. I mean...
So what, they a school of people that boil water? I don't get it.
Yeah, man. They're train conductors.
I mean, I do know they have very, superior engineering programs. Maybe that ties into it some way. I'm not sure.
Because they made the trains? John Henry started working for them first?
It's possible.
Choo-choo. Choo-choo.
I said choo.
I mean, if we really look back at the way... If we really...
I'm looking at... Who's Detective Chew?
I mean, if we really look back at the stats, I mean, they put one of the biggest whoopings in that first round on any team. I mean, that Villanova-Radford game, but they beat by 26 points.
But that's what I'm saying, right? Like, we should have heard something.
You should have, but right? they barely squeaked by Butler.
Butler's always tough out for people.
Yeah.
They always play people real tough, man.
I'm really stuck, but you know what? Here's my thinking behind this. I don't really care, because Kentucky's going to win. And then that means all is right in the world.
And you know what? I think on this Wild Boy edition, I think that's the best way to end the show with that. Because at the end, it doesn't matter. Kentucky is going to win. Alright, so we look forward to seeing you guys on our next episode where we're going to be hopefully finishing up this March Madness, this NCAA tournament to see who, in fact, has won. Also, we'll be talking about WrestleMania. It's right around the corner. For all you, WWE.
Hulkamaniacs, so make sure to say your prayers, eat your vitamins, break the glass, lays the smackers down.
So, yeah, man, we're going to have, be talking about a lot of the WWE leading up to WrestleMania who the big dog Roman Reigns looked to be going after, Brock Lesnar, and I don't know, I lost it.
I got you though. I got you, man. A lot going on in WWE, the Women's Revolution. We got KY that will cover a little bit of the Divas and see what's going on with them. And we'll go from there.
Alright, this Q.
This is Joker with my partner in crime, KY, and this is
Wildin with Wildboyz.